Hi Cancer, it's me again, Dadhichi from astrology.com.au with your November forecast. I wanted to talk about a recurrent theme for you just now, which has to do with your relationships. The 7th house of the horoscope relates to your relationships, intimate relationships, marriage, close business partnerships, de facto relationships, that sort of thing. And with Saturn, the ruler of this area of your horoscope, having been transiting the 6th house, which is not an easy house. This is called an upachaya or cadent house and relates very much to things that take time to develop. So what you'll find with firstly Saturn ruling this area of your horoscope, slow, even tedious process in working through some of your problems at this time. The need to carefully assess the things you're doing that are turning your partner off, because the 6th house, being the house of enmity, means that any planet that rules a specific person in your life that happens to be there does tend to become inimical towards you. So as we see this transit progressing, I wanted to focus on this month rather than the usual day-by-day sorts of things, although there are a couple of important things such as the lunations, which we'll talk about later. But it's important that you understand if someone has turned on you or is not amenable to the way you're relating to them, that you've got to come back to yourself. And so when I started the reading today talking about relationship, and you may have recalled me mentioning previously when I say that the key, the most important relationship is the relationship you have with yourself. That relationship is predicated on self-awareness. If you are to understand what it is in the relationships you're having now with other people that aren't working, it has to come back to a clear awareness and understanding of yourself and the relationship you have with yourself, that self-talk, how you perceive yourself, because that is going to determine and to a large extent dictate the way other people are going to relate to you. So Saturn, and now would you believe Venus has just passed in transit, that's Saturn, in your 6th house, and for you it actually rules the 4th house of family, domestication, and also your own inner peace and happiness. So when that planet has any contact with Saturn, as it has at the moment, my feeling is that you are going through a period where you've really pulled back, where you're feeling you're not making an impact or being heard, in short, not being respected in the relationship. So it's important for you to come back to basics, and that basic that I'm talking about is the relationship you're having with yourself. Very, very important. And it's interesting that the new moon, which actually occurred just towards the very end of October, is taking place in your 5th house in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio for the moon is its weakest point. It's what we call the debilitation sign for the moon, and the moon is your ruling planet. So it shows a lot of hope, a lot of expectation, a need to commence afresh. And again, the 5th house is love affairs and relationships. So we're seeing these separate factors, again, all pointing to this part of your life, the way you're relating in intimate relationship, love affairs, those amorous pursuits. And the new moon, along with that previous transit that I'm alluding to, which is the Saturn transit in your 6th house, that you need to begin afresh. But mostly when I say that, people think beginning afresh means pouncing on your partner, shaking them up, and getting them to change their ways. You know as well as I do that it's very difficult to hold a gun to someone's head and get them to change. Change has to be something that is born of self-initiative, which is why I'm saying to you that the change you want in this other person right now, especially at the second last month of 2016, has to come from you regenerating yourself. This fifth house, this new moon house for you this month, has a lot to do with connections to your inner self, your inner child. And it's from that I think you're able to springboard into better dialogue and, in fact, into a better position of equity where you're negotiating the changes you want with your partner by being the change you want to see. It's funny, people start by trying to change someone else, and they overlook the fact that when you effect a change within yourself, that change definitely manifests in the way other people react, because of course they become ingrained in the way that they see you. They become habituated to the way a discussion goes. The moment you change all of that and you use this new moon to approach all your relationships with a different mindset, a different attitude, a different presentation, then that naturally means people are going to have to react to you in a very, very different way. So that's the strategy that I'd be suggesting to you this month, and I'm hoping that works. It's also very important because the gains are definitely palpable as seen from the full moon that takes place on the 14th, and that's going to occur in the opposite of where the new moon was, which is a very weak position, in its best position, the 11th house in Taurus. And the 11th house is the house of fulfillment. It's the house of friendship, social connections. We mentioned also that this being your ruling body, that the second half of the month will definitely be an improvement based upon your ruler being full of light, full of opportunity. Being grounded in the Taurus earth sign is also excellent for any sorts of financial gains. And please take what I've said about relationships personally and transpose that into the workplace relationships, because it's the same equation, it's the same process. Changing yourself, bringing that new face into any relationship or negotiation is going to have the same resultant effect. And the 11th house is most certainly a house that gives you fulfillment. It's the house of the horoscope which helps you achieve the life desires and the life goals that you have. And so I'm seeing this as a great thing for you, and I know you're ready for that. Part of the problem you've had is that right now also we see the transit of Mars, a very good planet for you, but nevertheless it has its inherent reactive, combative, militant side. And that's also transiting through this place of relationship right now. And it's just also transited the conjunction of Pluto, which makes power plays very much part of the emotional landscape, and reaction, yourself and your partner reacting to each other's reactions, which is why I said that new moon has to come from a position where you are in effect changing the way you relate to yourself, changing that inner dialogue, that self-talk. So what appears to other people is very different, and in itself causes them out of necessity to react to you differently. So that's how we're going to handle that aspect of Mars in your 7th house, that new moon in your 5th house, that passing conjunction of Venus and Saturn in your 6th house, and the full moon, which is taking place on the 14th in the sign of Taurus. So I think on balance, the theme here of that difficult nature of your relationships can be overcome. and more easily than you think. So, you know, I'm always open to hearing your feedback. I hope these strategies for happiness, as I call them, this destiny engineering, as I call it, to re-engineer the way things happen in your life, is of practical use to you. I hope to see you next month. It'll be the last month of the year, Christmas month. Lots more to tell you then. In the meantime, don't forget to visit my site, astrology.com.au. We've got loads more information on astrology, face reading, strategies for understanding people, yourself, and don't forget too that I'm always available there if you're open to a face-to-face reading with me to get down into the nitty-gritty of your very, very personal horoscope. See you next month. Good luck.